What is going on, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody doing tonight? Y'all, we have a very special live tonight. I am so excited to be here. We're going to have so much fun over here. Tonight. I'm so happy. I'm going to have, this is going to be such a blast. Okay? This is going to be such a blast. Oh, I don't want that up here yet. Let's get rid of that. Y'all, we are going to be doing an interview with a Satanist tonight. This should be really fun. Sorry, as I'm trying to get everything kind of set up as we're moving forward. I'm having to play a few internet tricks. To make sure that this is going off. So excuse me while I get to go through it. Hey Fel. You know, as we're getting this started, can we get big W's in the chat for Fel? Fel has been the one that has been working with myself and Ari to make sure this thing goes off without a hitch. So Ari, it's saying invalid ID. I need a new link. I don't have one. Fel has been one making sure that everything goes off without a hitch. She has been doing just absolutely amazing stuff. Absolutely great stuff. Sorry, they have been doing absolutely amazing stuff. So big W's in the chat for Fel. Absolutely great stuff. I'm super excited that this is going on. Sorry as I get everything set up. Y'all, as you guys are coming in, please double tap that screen. Please double tap that screen. If you're over there on YouTube, welcome in. I'm losing track of where all my stuff is at. Very soon, we're going to be bringing up the special guests, some other creators that I am going to be freaking bringing up with it. But we want to make sure when this thing gets lit up, this thing is having a lot of fun, that we get this thing moving forward first. So please, if you're on a YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you push that thing out. If you are on TikTok, make sure you hit that like button, send the heart me's, all the things that we need in order to get that done.
Hold on.
Hi, Ari. I don't have a link.
Repeat that.
I don't have a link.
Okay, I'm sending it now.
All right, thank you.
Did the other one not work?
The old one, no.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to mute you there. I apologize.
How dare you? Okay, you should get it now.
Right now I'm staring at my email. I still don't have anything. All right, well, we figured out some technical difficulty stuff. Can we please get double tapping that screen? Let's get this thing up to 25,000 likes. I really appreciate you. Oh, goodness gracious.
Did it not go through?
I'm not getting an email. Are you sending it to the correct email?
Paul, yes.
Oh, there it is. Got it.
Thanks for freaking me out.
Well, it just came through this second.
There we go.
All right, perfect. Now we're starting to cook with fire over here. This is my first time using Zoom into a TikTok or YouTube feed. So this is very new for me. So, you know, we're kind of working out some kinks, but that's okay. Sometimes we have to be flexible, right? Sometimes we have to move a little differently than we want to, but that's okay. All right, we're still going to get this thing moving. So as we're building up the live, as things are moving forward, I want to make sure we get all the people in here that want to be here for this because I know this is very exciting. I know we had so many people that were registered to be a part of this, and so I very much want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to be in here before they want to. So please make sure you're liking, you're sharing out the live as we get this thing going. Ari, can you make sure that he is on the big screen here because I'm seeing him in a small screen?
It's
Lock.
because you're talking.
Can you lock him to a big screen?
Yeah, I'll try.
Thank you.
Let's-
If you're in here and you're talking about Trump, that's kind of weird. I think you might have a little TDS. Okay. I think you might have a little TDS. Okay. That's all right. Perfect, Ari. I appreciate it. Thank you. And Brett, if you're here, you're more than welcome to come up, bud. Right, exactly, Erica. Read the room. Read the room. Know where you're at. Act like you've been here before. You know? Act like you've been here before. You know?
We know they weren't house trained. It's okay.
Yeah, it happens, okay? It happens. Not everybody gets that good house training. All right. Erica, it's good to see you here, by the way, girl. All right. We're sitting at 200-ish so people in here. Oh, we got like 250-ish or so. This should be a little bit higher, but I think we'll go ahead and get this thing started. I'm still waiting on Brett. Where's Brett at?
I just realized I was still open on my YouTube.
Oh, well, guess what? They got a special show over there. That's fine.
Yeah, just listening to me chit chatty about talk to Eliphaz. So that's what they got to listen to.
Fun. All
Oh,
right.
please.
So let me go ahead and put this up here. Eliphaz, hi, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How's it going?
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being
Hail
here.
Satan.
Hail Satan, hail
Absolutely.
Satan. All right, so everyone in the crowd, this is Eliphaz Costas. He is the campaign director for the Satanic Temple Protect Children Project, whose mission is to protect student members of TST from abusive punishments that routinely occur in public schools. He is also a composer of satanic religious music, including the infamous children's song, My Pal Satan. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here, brother. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for having me. Glad to talk to you. I'm not on TikTok, but I'm happy to get sucked into your TikTok from Zoom, as they like to say in the White House. Just
Yes.
getting sucked in.
Yeah, we got you all the way here. And it was a trick getting you on here. I will tell you that much. But I'm super happy to have you here. So I want to start by maybe introducing some people to TST, right? I don't think a lot of people out here really understand what TST is, or maybe they have some very negative connotations towards it. And I want to start to kind of dispel those right off the bat. So can you give us just a brief synopsis of what TST, who you guys are, what you guys do, and just kind of fill some people in on some stuff that you guys would like to know about your group?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, I'm sure many people are wondering if we worship Satan. And the answer is no. And I like to start with that because, that just dispels the idea that we are devil worshippers who pray to the Dark Lord or anything like that. In fact, we're not. For us, the character of Satan, and we take the idea of Satan from romantic literature as the ultimate rebel against tyrannical authority, as is written in Paradise Lost, or Anatole France's Revolt of the Angels. So it's a very different idea of Satan. And it's also purely metaphorical and symbolic, and we don't actually believe in Satan. To quote my the infamous children's song you mentioned that I wrote, which part of the reason for that was to educate younger children and kids about what the Satanic Temple actually is. From that song, I said, Satan is just an imaginary friend who teaches us how to live in accordance to our 7 tenets, because we have 7 fundamental tenets, which, while we don't believe in anything supernatural and we don't worship any or believe in any higher power. We have these 7 tenets, which are just as deeply important to us as the 10 commandments are to a Christian.
Yeah, and there's always
Yeah.
there's something that I always just thought was like really, really cool about it, and this is just my personal one. It's so attention catching, right? Like, there are tons. There are religions and groups that do lots of different things throughout there, but sometimes when you just hear like the Satanic Temple, like you go, hold on, what was that? And it makes you kind of look up and think and like kind of pay attention to what's going on. And I always thought that was one of like the largest advantages that you guys have, is when you guys show up someplace or you guys are doing your campaigns, that people are paying attention just because of your name. And I always found that to be like really awesome. It was actually how I first got introduced to you guys. It was actually when you guys were doing the chaplain program in Florida, being in Florida myself. And I watched a lot of the school board meetings and stuff like that, and it actually really educated me on okay, this isn't. I know you guys very much distance yourself from the Church of Satan, but this isn't the Church of Satan. This isn't, a group like that. These people are actually doing things that are really, really good.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wouldn't have joined otherwise. Yeah, I mean, I think if we, the goal of being called the Satanic Temple, there's, Satan is the best. We didn't just choose that name just to get attention. It's sort of a happy accident that it does grab people's attention, because people are so accustomed to, the Judeo-Christian idea of Satan as the ultimate evil. So when they hear the word Satan, it's very evocative and provocative. But for us, our version of Satan as the metaphorical rebel against tyranny is really the best icon, the best name to describe, where our beliefs are rooted. And but I think it is a happy accident that our name really gets attention, because if we were just called the Goth American Humanists Association, we wouldn't. I don't think we would. Yeah, we wouldn't. Draw people's attention as much. And sometimes when we subvert people's expectations, it's sort of the cognitive dissonance between what they think Satanists are and what we actually are kind of creates a nice opening for us to teach them something new, hopefully.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, let's go into one of those campaigns that may not sound, like as Satanist as maybe your name does, but actually your campaign, you're the director of the I'm sorry, I just blanked on the name. The Protect Children Project. Am I correct there?
Exactly, the Protect Children Project. You can see if I scoot back here, that's our flag, our banner right there. The Protect Children Project. It's one of our, one of many national campaigns that the Satanic Temple has. And the goal of the Protect Children Project is to, because of our third tenet, which is our religious belief that one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone, meaning you're in control of your own body, end of story. Because of that tenet, our belief is that children should not be, especially in school, which is public school, which is a public space. Children should not have their bodily autonomy deprived from them by being corporally punished, put into solitary confinement, restrained, or even not allowed to use the bathroom when they want, because that's all of those types of punishment, which are common in schools, unfortunately. Those are all violations of our religious belief in bodily autonomy. So students who are members of TST can claim a religious exemption from those type of punishments. That's what my campaign is focused on. Yeah, protecting student members of TST from abusive punishments in school.
And I think that's absolutely amazing. A little history on me. I grew up in I went to very, very private, very Christian school growing up, where corporal punishment was actually the norm.
Hmm.
And I honestly didn't think anything of it because it was just a consistent thing that we had gone through, and it's from my side of things, on the political side of things, and from the scientific studies, we see that corporal punishment is very, very negative, towards the children, towards the family construct. It does not help to correct behavior in the way that that it supposedly does. And so I think that being able to fight against that, I actually thought my entire life that was just a private school thing. I did not know that public schools even had the ability to do that in any way, shape, and form.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's still legal in, I believe it's 17 states now, where corporal punishment's still legal in public schools. The states that have the highest numbers of corporal punishment are Texas, Mississippi, and Arkansas. And but throughout especially in the South, especially deep red states, we still see corporal punishment being used. And in most of the country, corporal punishment is still legal in private schools as well, I believe, except for New Jersey, Maryland, and Iowa. I think I'm right on that. But yeah, not only is it a violation of bodily autonomy as one of our religious beliefs, but it's also anti-science. And our uh, fifth tenet is our beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world, and we shouldn't distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs, as is happening quite frequently now, especially in the highest levels of government. So not it also violates that fundamental belief of ours in the satanic temple, because if there's so many studies I could read you from the WHO or the American Academy of Pediatrics, but there's just again and again, it's shown that corporal punishment, it doesn't help students' academic outcomes. In fact, it does the opposite. It harms students' mental and emotional well-being. It's ineffective at actually changing behavior in the long term. And it also teaches children that violence is a solution. Like, this is the solution that your teachers are doing to get you to behave how they want. So later in life, that can lead to um, violence on behalf of children who have suffered corporal punishment as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's just wrong on so many levels, and that's why we're using our religious rights as a way to prevent that.
Well, it's actually I found it quite interesting, actually, the states that you had actually mentioned when you were talking about those things, because those states tend to be the ones that are like the southern states and the more red states in the South, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, that tend to be the lowest when it comes to educational acuity. They rank the lowest in the United States on education, and when we see where their money starts to go and where their priorities go when it comes to education, it tends to be to things like having the 10 Commandments added into a classroom, and those. So it just seems like it quite aligns that the ones that are the states that are more concerned with bringing religion to classrooms and dismissing science from it tend to also, and to bring corporal punishment into it, tend to also suffer the most from their their students suffer the most because they're not being educated enough.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're right. That is a unfortunate trend, I would say. And I agree with you when you said that, when you were in school and you said you went to a Catholic school or a
It was a Protestant school, but
Protestant
yeah,
school,
yeah.
but and corporal punishment was so commonplace that you just didn't even think about that it was a problem. And I think that's really the way it is in a lot of these um, schools or school communities that are still using corporal punishment prevalently. I don't think that they don't think about it as being harmful. It's like, this is just the way we've always done it here. Our teachers hit us in school, our parents use corporal punishment at home, so this is just the way that we know how to address behavior. And so I don't think it's, in most cases in schools, I don't think it's being done with malicious intent. there's just not an awareness of how harmful it actually is, and the long-term consequences of having those kind of policies in schools. We visited, we've done, as the campaign and using volunteers from the Satanic Temple. I've gone to several different schools in Texas and Mississippi, and met in person with students, stood outside schools and handed out information and tried to educate the community about the harms of corporal punishment and why they should leave it behind. And I had a lot of really great interactions with students and parents who, in some cases, were definitely uncomfortable about us being there, but were willing to understand and learn and allow us, the volunteers, to explain why we're really there to help the children in the community, and we're not there to indoctrinate them into Satanism, because one of the Satanic Temple's policies is we don't indoctrinate, we don't proselytize. This is just, what the Protect Children Project does is just it's something that is optional, of course, and it's there for students who are members of TST who want to assert that, because of their beliefs, they cannot be hit in school, as well as secluded or restrained or denied bathroom access. And also students who are maybe interested in becoming TST members, or who find that their beliefs align with TST, they can also use our services to protect themselves. And now I'm starting. Sometimes I just start ranting, and
I'm loving it.
my
I'm
mind
loving
goes
it.
down
I'm
a
loving
path,
it.
and then I forget.
Well, because
I forget
actually, when I was
what the actual question was.
when I was actually doing some research and stuff on this, I actually ended up finding those student cards that you guys had, and I thought that those were super cool. I don't know if I can put one on the screen or not, but like the student cards
Sure.
that can be like
I have one in
handed
my
out.
desk right here.
You have one in your desk? That'd be perfect. I'm sure everyone would love to see this.
Yeah, and it's called the Student Rights Card. You see, it has the Satanic Temple logo on the front, and on the back, it has maybe that's in reverse, so I'm not sure if people can read it, but it just states that the person carrying this card, is a member of the religious organization, the Satanic Temple, and one of their deeply held beliefs is the third tenet: one's body is inviolable, and therefore psychological and physical abuse violate my religious beliefs and civil rights, including corporal punishment, solitary confinement, being put in restraints, and denied bathroom access. And disregarding my religious liberty may result in legal consequences. So if a student carries this card in school and shows it to the faculty or the administration, or if parents go in ahead of time and show the administrators that, yeah, my child is carrying this card, and then the school refuses to respect that, they can get in touch with us right away, and we'll start work with TSC's legal counsel on taking action against the school, because it's a violation of religious rights for them to be hit, or any of those punishments I mentioned. So yeah, the student rights card is sort of our main strategy right now in allowing students to exercise their religious rights.
I think that's so awesome. Like, really, I do. And I know you can't see the chat
Thanks.
here, but you're getting huge W's in the chat from everybody with this student card. I think that is absolutely so cool because as a child, especially a child that's in school, it might be difficult to be able to express these things, or to articulate them correctly, especially to an authority figure like a teacher, a principal, or a school resource officer. So being able to pull out that card and being able to to hand it to someone and to be able to articulate it without words, I think is really, really awesome. And I think that that's super cool. I did want to get into, I know that, when I talked to your team that you were very concerned with Donald Trump's new EO. And I had the entire EO up, but I think I would just rather let you explain it, because it sounds like you probably have a really good grasp on what the EO is and how it's affecting, especially disproportionately Black and brown children in schools.
Yeah, sure. I was made aware of the EO just a few weeks ago, and yeah, it seems like they're trying to bring back harsher disciplinary measures in schools, from what I can tell, and as well, because they're claiming that I don't know if I'm an expert on the executive order, but um, it seems as though it's some sort of measure, in their continued attacks on DEI and Black and brown students being given equitable treatment, and wanting to mete out disciplinary measures in harsher ways. Do you think that's a good summation?
Yeah,
What,
so I can give a little
yeah.
bit more history on the EO if you're okay with
Yeah, you
that.
probably
Yeah,
understand it,
yeah,
more than
no
I do,
problem.
to be
Yeah,
honest.
so this EO is actually retracting an Obama era policy. So what we saw prior to 2009 was we saw the data that Black and brown children were being punished at a higher rate and more. Oh, why am I getting an echo? Sorry, I don't know what's going on there.
I had muted you on Zoom for that reason. I think that's why.
Okay, can he still hear me?
I can hear
Well,
you.
let's try now.
All right, cool. So, anyways,
Yep.
there was there was a strong disparity that Black and brown children were being punished at a higher rate and more punitively than their counterparts. So, what the Obama administration policy pretty much said was, hey, we need to take this into consideration. We don't need to be suspending children, regardless of their race. We don't want to be suspending children for just everything, right? Like if you're tardy, suspension. If if you used your phone in class, suspension. If you did this or that or whatever, suspension, suspension, suspension. Because what that was doing was that was keeping children out of the classroom. Right. And because they weren't in the
Yeah.
classroom, A, they weren't learning, obviously, because they weren't in the classroom. And B, they were usually left a lot of times to run the streets or do whatever they were doing that was actually promoting the bad behavior also. But by keeping them in the classroom, they were able to actually diagnose the core problem that was actually going on, with that specific student. Instead of making blanket punishments across the board, just for tardy, because there's lots of reasons why especially poor children may be more tardy. Maybe they're working jobs, you know what I'm saying, before school or after school. And so there was a lot more reasons for that. So actually having counseling, actually having people in the school that could deal with the children on an individual basis based off their whole circumstance, and in that circumstance it included their age and their race. Donald Trump is retracting all of that in order to, again, push his more anti-DEI stuff. He's done it with the military. He's doing it with schools. He's done it with the federal government. He's done it with a lot of different, programs throughout the federal government since he's been in. And really all it does is, again, like you said, help to increase the disparity in between Black and brown children and their YT counterparts.
Yeah, because they want to just pretend that, systemic racism doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, it's just part of that effort. Yeah, I agree with you. And this is just speaking as an individual right now. I highly disagree with that order, and that and also when it comes to when we're looking at statistics of corporal punishment and those other abusive punishments that I was talking about before, that Protect Children Project fights against, those are also used at higher rates for Black and brown children. So there is a disparity there as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when I was made aware of that, I immediately thought about how that would connect with Protect Children Project. And for now, I'm going to expect the worst, but hope for the best, and hope that it doesn't lead to, when it comes to how it directly involves my work, I'm hoping that's not going to lead to higher rates of corporal punishment and these other punishments I mentioned, but it very well might. School districts have autonomy, even in states where corporal punishment is still legal. School districts can make their own policies in each county, each district. So it's up to the district whether they opt in to use corporal punishment and allow that at the schools in their district. So it seems from my research that I've done, it seems pretty exceedingly rare that districts decide to bring back corporal punishment, although I did see something about that happening or potentially happening in West Virginia sometime this year. But more and more, we are seeing a downward trend of corporal punishment, luckily, as more and more states and then school districts follow best practices when it comes to science and research and the well-being of children. But at the same time, I am worried that executive order and this sort of emphasis on, harsher discipline of students, irregardless of equity, could definitely lead to probably, definitely more cases of restraint, I think, which means, physically, teachers or faculty physically restraining or using mechanical restraints to stop a student's ability to move, which can be very dangerous. And that, that's something that, every once in a while, there will be a case where if a student is an imminent physical threat to themselves or others, where restraint is necessary, but in most cases, it's overused and it can be very dangerous. So, and students have died from being restrained like that unnecessarily at the hands of teachers. So it's something we have to be really careful with. And I think it's definitely possible that corporal punishment numbers could start to tick up again. But for now, I'm just going to hope that doesn't happen. I mean, we have seen, obviously, there was, as you'd imagine, there was an all-time low in the amount of corporal punishment instances happening during COVID. But since COVID, I have seen in my research that numbers have started to tick back up, and probably growing at a faster rate than normal in the districts that still use it. But for now, when it comes to corporal punishment, I'm just going to wait and see if what kind of effect that has. But I know it's definitely concerning.
Yeah, well, we're also actually already seeing some states responding to that EO, and I will say that they're responding the way that we would. California is very against it. I'll put it that way. The states are responding across party lines to that EO, and that is. We'll see. As somebody who lives in Florida and lives in a red state, and I'm about to kind of turn this over to Ari, who also is here in Florida with me, and Brett, who's in Texas. Our states are the ones that are much more quickly to adopt EOs like that and to use that towards corporal punishment, and I think that's absolutely horrible. Before I do that, though, I did want to mention something that's like right above my head, and I know Ari's definitely going to get into this, so I don't want to jump the gun whatsoever. Okay. But I am going to be collecting any funds that come from tonight on my Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, and all the profits for that will be donated to the new clinic that TST is working on in Virginia, which is their second free women's health clinic. And I definitely want to go into more detail on that. I know Ari's been very studied up on this, but any donations that come from this will go to that clinic, and I will let her explain more of what they're doing on that. But I'm gonna Ari.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome, and really, like, Ari and I were both reading up on this clinic, and we were like, this is the most amazing. I didn't even know this existed, and this is the most amazing thing I've ever read in my life, especially from a state, like I said, like Florida, where abortion is down to a 6-week ban. And as a girl dad myself too, that is absolutely amazing. So Ari, did you have any questions for Eliphaz, or if you wanted to talk about anything that's going on? And Brett, thank you for joining us. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so sorry. I do apologize.
You're good, brother. You're good. All right, Ari, do you have questions you want to take over for a sec? Ari, I cannot hear you.
I think you're on mute on Zoom.
Got nothing, Ari. You're muted on here. You're muted on TikTok.
Yeah, I already
There you go.
tried to unmute
There you are.
on TikTok and it didn't like me.
There you go.
I have the microphone plugged in by phone and it's not working. So I don't know what's going on.
All right. Can you hear her all right, LFS?
Yeah. Now I
Okay,
can.
perfect.
Actually, I think I figured. Hold on.
Hello. Are we good now?
We can hear
Can
you.
you
Got
hear
you got a background buzz, but besides that, you're okay.
I can't help you. Can you
Okay.
hear me all right, LFS? Apparently he can't hear me, so could he hear Brett?
He could hear you before.
Yeah, I was talking through the computer.
Yeah, I could only hear you before when you unmuted Zoom.
All right, that's the difference. Hold on. I'll let Brett take over then for a moment because technical difficulties.
Brett, can you speak?
Yeah.
All right, can you hear him?
No, I can't hear Brett.
You know
I
what?
think
You know what?
because-
This is actually on me.
Okay.
1 second. This is actually on me.
So it wasn't me.
Remember, I had to share the screen in order for him to hear desktop audio. Okay.
That could
Wow, there we go.
Ari, say something
be.
now.
Okay.
Bubbles.
Bubbles like.
All right, cool. We
bubbles.
got you now. Sorry, that was on me. I forgot to share the screen. See, I'm messing things up. I'm not used to this. Go ahead, Ari. It's all you.
I had to get my life set back up over again. I had already unplugged from my phone and all of that jazz, so I blame you on that one.
I know, right? Molly, get it together, right? We're slacking over here. All right.
Get it together. Oh gosh. I don't know this person, guys. I'm kidding. And for the what he's talked about for the women's clinic, any donations to my pay links are going to be the same thing. And we'll obviously provide proof to everybody in the Discord.
Yes.
The Discord.
Sorry, I forgot to say that. Yes, I know there
Yeah.
has been some negative about TikTok creators and pocketing money. We will be providing receipts for any money that is received and donated to anyone else, any charitable organizations, because I don't want any questions going on, and they will be made very, very public. Okay? All right. Just to be clear.
All right. So I know we've had some like additional people coming in during all of this. So for those that are wondering, I'm going to briefly talk about the women's clinic. So they already have one open in New Mexico, where they provide or assist individuals with travel expenses, and they also provide the actual abortion process itself, the procedure, at a reduced cost because of donation. So people that are donating to this cause, not only is it helping build a new clinic in Virginia, but it's also assisting women that are in need of these services, specifically from red states where it's heavily regulated, with getting to where they need to go, the care that they need, and reducing the normal cost, which is an average between $500 and $1,000, depending on where you are, down to about $63 out of pocket. And that's something that just is mind blowing to me as well. And so with this, and I know you're not too familiar about that, so I'm okay. With that LFS, and I turned on my camera on my computer so you didn't feel like you were alone on the screen. At least you could at least see one of us. So this also falls under your third tenet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we our religious reproductive rights campaign is the campaign that's whose mission it is to provide this kind of support. And that campaign is run by my friend and colleague and boss, I should say, Aaron Helian, who's also the director of all campaigns. But yeah, as it's consistent with our third tenet in which calls for bodily autonomy for the individual, no matter what, when it comes to their own body, of course. We religiously object to any restriction that many states have enacted that interfere with the right to abortion, because that's a violation of our religious beliefs. So the Religious Reproductive Rights Campaign takes steps to address this, and one of those steps is opening these abortion clinics in New Mexico and Virginia, which I think everybody in our organization and our community is really proud of. The one in New Mexico has a very notable title, which is the Samuel Alito's Mom's Satanic Abortion Clinic.
Which I want that T-shirt so bad. I saw it in your merch shop. I have to get it.
You
was
should.
I was laughing at him too much when I saw because I was looking at the merch and I scrolled down and I saw the picture and I'm like, this is the best. Like that shirt needs to be worn like by somebody like in this house. I don't know who, but it's going to be worn. And so this is going to be more for the people coming in. So when you were talking about how the Satanic Temple itself, you don't worship Satan, you don't worship Christ either. It's more atheist or agnostic, and that falls in line with your tenets. Would it be the seventh tenet by chance that it would fall more in line with?
You said, the seventh tenet? Seventh of the seven tenets?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say I usually call it we're a non-theistic religion. So we don't believe in any kind of higher power or any kind of supernatural entities. But we believe that our seventh tenet is every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought, and the spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should prevail over the written or spoken word. But all of our tenets, when it comes to I guess you're referring to reproductive rights specifically.
Well, in this case, this one is more broad because I was just honing in on the fact that the Satanic Temple itself is more of like you can either be listed as atheist or even agnostic. And I felt like that last part where it says should always prevail over the written or spoken word would lead more into the fact that we're saying that it shows that you don't really follow a set religion when it comes, or the idea of Satan or Christ.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we don't, for us, the character of Satan is just, he's a metaphorical character. He's a character in a book, just like I would say that most religions are, and I'm sure that might be offensive to some people, but that's fine. Everyone's allowed to be offended, which is also in our tenets, the freedom to offend, which is very important when it comes to freedom of speech. But we don't have any religious, we don't have any scriptures. We don't have any strict strictures on what you're supposed to wear or eat, or specific mythology that you have to believe in or rituals that you have to do. It's very much a personal choice. It's just that our seven tenets are guiding principles that we try to live our life by, and our social work that we do and that the campaigns do is very much rooted in trying to follow and act out those tenets for the benefit of our community and for social justice at large.
I would be remiss if I didn't point out that Fell is correcting me that it's the fifth tenet where we're saying that we don't, where you don't follow Satan or Christ. So I got to make sure to point that one out.
I do have to ask you, and I know this isn't your campaign, but somebody asked this question in the chat, so I do have to ask it. Has there been a name made for the Virginia clinic yet?
That is a good question. I think I'm not sure.
I think there was.
There has been yet. I could be wrong about that. There's so much going on within TSD. I'm not always up to date on.
It's going to be really hard for you to beat Samuel Alito's mom's abortion clinic. That's going to be a really hard one to beat. I don't know how you beat that one at all.
I don't believe there's been. I think I've heard some names I think thrown around, but I don't want to say
Oh
for
yeah.
sure when it hasn't been 100% decided. Because yeah, I don't really have anything to do with the campaign, even though I'm a big fan and supporter of everything that they do. Yeah, I think it's important for, although this is a really serious threat to women's health, the all the abortion bans and strict and restrictions on bodily autonomy, and that we've seen since Roe v. Wade was overturned, and even before that, of course. It's important to, I like that the first clinic has such a humorous and snarky kind of name. But I think
Right.
I'm guessing that perhaps for the new clinic they might go in a different direction just
Okay.
for some balance.
Sure.
But so don't be disappointed. But but we take this work, although we sometimes use humor and irony in the way we present ourselves. Like the work we do is 100% deadly serious, because there are serious threats to our rights and our health and well-being, and we take that very seriously. And that's why everyone within the Satanic Temple has donated so much time and energy toward helping the organization succeed.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I did want to hear from Brett too, even though he decided to show up a little late over here. But we do love Brett.
No worries.
I don't know if you were introduced to Brett at all at any point during the interview process. But Brett is one of our awesome creators out here. Usually does a lot of things with Pew Pew rights and 2A, and we understand that the church does not have an official position on that. So we definitely want to stay away from from getting too far down in the weeds on that. So we're not going to do that whatsoever.
Sure.
But Brett
I'm
is
happy to. I was going to say, I could, if you want to ask me any questions when it comes to gun control, I'm happy to answer just as an individual, from my own perspective as a Satanist. But yeah, the organization as a whole, there's no, as of now, there's no policy or statement on gun control that I can provide. I think it's also because one thing to keep in mind is TST is the Satanic Temple is an organization with limited resources, and we have to be really mindful of the causes that we can really best serve. And I think and the things that are relevant to us as a religion, because we're not a political organization, even though many of us in the temple have, of course, strong political views. And I'd say that from my perspective, we tend to lean very much progressive and left, but we're a religion, so we try to keep ourselves separate from partisanship, which unfortunately, gun rights has become very much a partisan issue. So
unfortunately.
yeah, and so I'm happy to talk as an individual about that, but yeah, we don't at the moment. I mean, there's so many great organizations that are doing work to combat, to push for better gun control, and I don't see us as having a place yet in that fight, and to leave that to other organizations.
Yeah, and I think we can completely understand that. But Brett, would you like to elaborate maybe a little bit on who you are and what your questions and concerns are?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Brett Cross, and I lost my son in the Robb Elementary School mass unaliving in Uvalde, Texas.
So sorry to hear that, man.
I appreciate that. So as you would think, I've became an advocate for my son and for others who perish from firearms. And so, like, I really love like the fact that you're here, and showing how the TSC truly cares for people. So I was curious, in your view, how does like gun violence intersect with the bodily autonomy and the children's rights that you currently fight for?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a really really great question, and yeah, again, my condolences for the tragedy you've gone through, and I hope I can, whatever I say will, you know, I hope I hope I represent myself well here, but because it's something that, personally I have really strong feelings about as well. And, as a Satanist myself and with my personal beliefs and my interpretation of the tenets, tenet number one is one should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. Um, and so, I think in general, the lack of movement on gun control and the lack of ability of our legislators to pass meaningful protections and common sense reforms in the light of all these horrible mass shootings we've experienced is just, it's unconscionable, and it's the opposite of compassion and empathy. So for me, that's the reason that one of the many reasons why I am an advocate for gun control and reform to protect human lives, because that's precious. There's nothing more valuable than that. And tenet number two is the struggle for justice is ongoing and a necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions, because the law is not always just, and we're seeing more and more of our institutions corrupted by injustice. So yeah, that's another tenet that I think justifies the need for reforms to protect children, to protect public health. And like you said, it's also when any kind of violence is committed against someone, it's a violation of their bodily autonomy. So, we as an organization, I can say that TST is absolutely 100% committed to nonviolence, as I am too, as an individual, and always has been, because when you're committing violence against someone else or even another creature, an animal, you're violating that person or that creature's bodily autonomy, and that's just wrong. And I think in a lot of cases, and one of the reasons why I think the seven tenets are so deeply meaningful for me is that when I discovered them, it just resonated with me so much, as though I was sort of developing my whole life into becoming a Satanist and didn't even realize it until I discovered what it actually meant. But yeah, we come from a very humanist perspective, and so I think it's only natural that, and I believe I'm probably right, that many people in the TST community feel the same way. But that's how I feel.
I appreciate that, and yeah, obviously I agree, right? Um,
Yeah.
I had another question for you, especially about looking into the tenants and hearing what you have just said on that. Once again, this is for you individually.
Hmm.
Like how do you like respond to? So I always hear this argument. I'm always told, more guns make us safer, when obviously that's been proven to be false. So when somebody says we should just arm teachers, right? How would you respond to that? You personally.
Yeah. And thanks for specifying that. Yeah, personally, I think that's crazy. I mean, and I could connect that to, tenet number five again, that, I try to conform uh, my understanding of the world conform my beliefs to the best scientific understanding of the world. And from what I know, I'm not an expert on this type of research, but from the research I know and that I've heard, guns make society less safe, make people less safe, and you're much more likely to harm yourself accidentally or on purpose if you have a gun in the home. Or so, if we're taking a scientific viewpoint based on facts and data, it's not logical to use guns as a protective tool. I still believe in people's right to bear arms, as it is in the Constitution.
Right.
But if we follow the science and the data, it's clear that guns do not make you safe, and they do not make schools safe. And I don't see why. I can envision so many bad scenarios of teachers in classrooms with guns, because classrooms can be volatile places. There's schools and teaching is a very stressful and high stress and underpaid job in comparison to how much work and stress it is. Not to suggest that teachers are gonna lose their minds necessarily and use them, but you never know what could happen on any given day, and a student could grab the teacher's gun.
Yep.
There's just so many scenarios where I could see it going horribly wrong, and I really think there needs to, we need to reform the laws to make people safe, because if you look at other countries that have made these type of common sense gun control reforms, they show results. So for me, it's the most logical and science-driven thing for making us safe from gun violence.
I actually want to ask a question on that. Oh, sorry. I thought you were finished. I apologize.
Oh, yeah. No, just saying regulation of, just like cars or, driving is regulated because driving can be really dangerous, and smoking is regulated because cancer kills. Guns should be regulated in a way that keeps our children and our public safe.
Yeah, I completely. That was a very Obama-esque statement, by the way, with the driving and the stuff like that. You look just like him too. No, no. I actually really wanted to kind of draw that back to teachers. And before I do that, Shannon and Ryan, thank you guys so much for the Cash App and the Venmo. Again, all profit that comes from tonight will be donated to the second TST abortion clinic that is the closest to free abortion clinic that you can have in the United States right now. They're already operating one in New Mexico, and they're building a second one in Virginia, and they need funds to help do that. So if you do donate, just know that it will go to that. And like I said, there will be receipts that will be shown for all money doing that, considering there have been some negatives with some other creators on TikTok and stuff like that. But I will make sure receipts are sent out to anybody that would like them. So, yes, that's what that's for. But
And real quick, I'm not trying to derail you. I should have mentioned this to you before, but TikTok is really dumb with their friendly language. Instead of saying anything that's along the lines of KILL, say unalive. It's really weird and annoying.
Oh, I'm assuming you're talking to him, because I'm like,
Oh, yeah, you're good. Obviously,
I do it naturally.
You know the rules.
So it's so they don't like the K word. They prefer unalive. It can get lives in trouble and stuff like that on YouTube and TikTok. I wasn't too concerned, because it's not like we were continuing the speak of it. But it's really bad. It's to the point where I start to say unalive in like my normal everyday talk. Like when I'm talking to people offline, because it's just you get so used to it. But you've been fine so far, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay.
But I really want to draw back to what you were talking about there, because we're talking. Brett was asking the questions about arming teachers and how hard of jobs teachers have. How would you combat that as far as your program is concerned, right? When your program is talking about removing things from like corporal punishment, removing restraint, removing all of these things. What would you say to someone who says that is actually, like making jobs harder on teachers because it's removing a form of punishment towards the child that just makes it harder on the teachers?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Yes, it's true that teaching is, and I work in schools. I'm not a full-time classroom teacher in my professional life, but I do work in schools, and I see the level of stress. I work with teachers all the time, and I a full-time classroom teacher, and I see the level of pressure and stress that they're under. But nothing justifies hitting a child. Also, also pointing to the fact that corporal punishment is ineffective. Like it doesn't. So many studies show that and evidence shows that it doesn't. It can actually increase children's behavioral problems, if anything, over time. And the only thing that it does is it gets kids to comply right away because they're scared or they're physically hurt, so they comply right then and there. But it doesn't lead to an improvement in behavior over time. In fact, I would say the opposite, based on what I researched. So, and there's so many other ways you can discipline in the classroom that are not abusive. And so, although and I also in many cases, like teachers, the actual classroom teacher is not the one administering the corporal punishment. I think usually not. Usually, it's a principal or they have very specific rules around who can use corporal punishment and how many times a student can be hit with the paddle, and even then sometimes there's been many cases and news stories about students ending up in the emergency room from having severe bruising or broken bones when an adult male principal hits them with a wooden paddle. Go figure. So, I definitely, I try to, because I see, I study the data showing all the corporal punishment and all these cases that happen, but at the same time, I always try to keep in mind what the teachers are going through on the ground. But at the end of the day, I think there's just no justification for hitting a child. And when it comes to members of TST, it's a violation of our religious rights. So as an organization, it's a non-starter. I mean, even if we don't advocate, I mean, I always hope that, after we visit a school or after I send a letter to a school, I might kindly suggest that they maybe think about getting rid of corporal punishment. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that it's a violation of our religious rights. So if the student's a TST member, you can't hit them, or we'll take you to court. So while I sympathize with the difficult job of classroom management and dealing with serious behavioral issues, of which there are many, and I think especially coming out of COVID, I think it's been a really hard time for students acclimating socially, I'm sure. And but yeah, I think there are plenty of other options.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was very well said. Ari, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was going to say, and it was more to piggyback off you, and it does tie pretty well back into your essential tenets of the Satanic Temple, is that there's already been plenty of studies that show that physical punishment on a child, especially at a young age, actually alters the brain chemistry. And I think it actually shrinks the hippocampus. So, and that's part of the problem, is that we have these visceral reactions to things that happen in our adult lives because of what happened to us as children, because we've basically become indoctrinated to learn that physical assaults, however you want to phrase it, immediately mean that something that you're doing is wrong, even if you don't understand it is wrong.
Yeah, that's actually like super interesting. I know you've read a lot more up on that science than I have, Ari, but yeah, I do. I have heard that, from an actual medical studies that actually show that your brain is physically changed by it. And that's really crazy. And I think that what I think is also so important is like, so my parents growing up, they believed in corporal punishment. I'm not blaming them or mad at them, right? Like my dad grew up on a farm in rural Louisiana, right? Corporal punishment was they pretty much beat them to death, okay? And then I was less, and now, like I've obviously chosen, not to use corporal punishment when it comes to my daughter because I don't think that it's helpful, at all. It's actually funny that wasn't the original reason why I did it, but regardless, I chose not to use it whatsoever. And I think that as we like move forward in society, I think that's why things like this are so important, right? They're so important because you this is how we change things, right? This is like generationally, this is how we get rid of racism. This is how we get rid of sexism. This is how we get rid of things like corporal punishment. We get rid of it by you just doing a little bit better than your parents and your kids doing just a little bit better than you do. And sooner or later it phases itself out, right? And so that's why I think it's so important that we allow these services like that you have, and the cards and all of that sort of stuff, because it gives that ability to kind of stop that generationally. And maybe if a kid just gets that, maybe their parents still have that corporal punishment at home, but they're learning that, hey, this isn't the best way forward, and when their kids are born you have less of it, and then hopefully you guys can use your limited resources to work on something, because this isn't a problem. That would be my dream. Go ahead, Brett. What were you asking?
Me too.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of what you were saying as well. And I was curious, like, have y'all encountered any like resistance or from school districts while trying to help the students?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I wanted to jump back to what you said before about corporal punishment being passed down generationally. It's the same thing as in my family. And my dad grew up in Yonkers, New York, but he was beaten a lot by his mother, and I know it had a traumatic effect on him, but he made a conscious choice to break the cycle and not hit me, which I'm really, really grateful for, because it really does cause, long-term emotional, psychological trauma that, it might not be visible on the surface, but it's something that'll affect you your whole life. But yeah, I'm sympathetic to the fact that, when a school district finds out that members of the Satanic Temple are coming to stand outside of their school with banners and flyers, that they're, maybe a little bit suspicious or not looking forward to it, at least. But so far, I have had pretty good experiences with our in-person direct actions at schools. I think because the schools realize that we have a First Amendment right to be there, as long as we're, not standing on school grounds, and as long as we're, following the law, of course, which we always do. And I'm always really cordial and respectful to school administrators when I'm dealing with them, because, I don't want them to feel attacked or demonized. But there of course is resistance to anything that the Satanic Temple does, just because of our name, purely because people associate Satan with evil. But at the same time, like you said, if we had a different name, we probably would just be completely overlooked, which is not the goal, but a happy accident. So, we've arguments that I found are pretty common, because I think it's hard to take a moral or an ethical stand in favor of corporal punishment. But a lot of times schools will make excuses, like, oh, well, the students or parents of students are allowed to opt their children out from corporal punishment. And in a lot of cases, that's true. School districts, parents can write a letter. It's different for every district, but often parents can write a letter specifying that they don't want their child to be hit in school. But at the same time, even if that's true, I would argue that even if a family wants to give permission for public school officials to hit their student, the student still has their own bodily autonomy and their own right to their religious and deeply held beliefs. So even if their parents want them to be hit, we would argue that a student who identifies with the Satanic Temple and has a student rights card should not be hit and cannot be hit, or will also take legal action. So the students can also have a different viewpoint and different belief systems from their parents that we believe will stand up in court.
And actually, that's actually what I was gonna ask you too. And like real quick, again, y'all, we are taking donations today. All profits from these donations will go to the second free abortion clinic that the TST is building in Virginia. So if you'd like to donate, this is a great time to do it, and it is going to a really good cause with receipts provided. Sorry, I have to keep saying that, Eliphaz. You're not familiar with the some of the stuff that has been going on in TikTok land lately, but I will provide receipts for all donations. I promise. Izzy, thank you so much for the Cash App. I really appreciate that. My question was, have you ever challenged one of these things in court, and have you won?
No, as of now, we have not. We have not gone to court with the Protect Children Project. TST as an organization has a lot of current litigations happening, which I don't know enough to really comment on, but several having to do with reproductive rights and several having to do with equal representation on public grounds, having to do, with regards to our Baphomet monument being put alongside state houses with the Ten Commandments.
Which I love, by the way. I thought that was great. I saw so many videos on that. It's so awesome.
Yeah. And that legal case has been pending for a long time. But as of now, we have not found a plaintiff to test this in court. I'm hoping we will, but at the same time, if the student rights card is enough to dissuade most schools from hitting that student or using those, punishments I mentioned many times against that student, I'm happy with that. So, but if it comes to it, we find a plaintiff whose school is refusing to respect their religious rights as a Satanist, then we certainly will test that in court. I also wanted to mention that, in a specific case of schools pushing back, we visited in late 2023, we visited a school in Texas called Dumas High School in northwest Texas near Amarillo. And they were hitting, there was over 1,000 cases of corporal punishment use in 1 year, one school year, which I believe is probably the highest of any single school in the country, because I've never seen anything close to that amount. And so we went there and we stood outside on the sidewalk by the school with, the student rights cards and information about what Protect Children Project does, and with some signs, specifying those details. And I had some interesting conversations with students. We actually had a number of students who came and talked to us, and we discovered there was one TST member at the school as well. And I talked to also an alumni from the school who offered a really interesting perspective that, although when he went to the school, and he actually came and joined us, he joined our group because he felt so strongly that what he had suffered while going to Dumas High School was wrong in hindsight. But he said that while he was in the high school, even though that school gave him a choice, they said, oh, well, you can take your SWATs, they called them, you can take your SWATs or you'll be suspended. And he thought that he told me in the moment, when he was younger, he just thought that he should, even though he did have a choice, without realizing how harmful corporal punishment could be long term, he just decided that he said, man up and take the SWATs, because there was also a sort of, expectation of, I guess, manliness to just take the punishment, and also the fact that he didn't want to be suspended and put out of school and miss school, and as well, the school also let me know that if you, or I found out that if you get suspended too many times, then you can be fined. The family of the student could actually be fined. So they were actually putting a financial incentive into just taking your SWATs instead of the alternative, which is less harmful, but still, not ideal. So there needs to be other options for punishment besides being put out of the classroom or being hit.
Yeah, actually, I remember that at my school, that was the exact ultimatum that we were given also. And I remember a kid specifically telling me, I might as well take the SWATs because if I get suspended, my dad's going to whoop me at home anyway. Like and I heard that multiple times. I heard, hey, my parents won't even find out about it if I take XYZ or, and so it's rough. And like I said, I know you can't see the chat, but somebody in my chat just said, I thought that corporal punishment was outlawed in the 80s. Like this is oh man. It's sad. It's really sad to hear that. And you guys aren't based out of Texas. You went to Texas to do that protest. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm not big. I'm on the East Coast, but I've done it. I coordinate with local congregations, which are different. They used to be called chapters, but different congregations of the Satanic Temple, and organized with volunteers from Texas congregations. I've been to Texas doing that twice, and also once in Mississippi, where I organized with Mississippi members of the temple. But I'm happy to go in person and do this work. And there is, to be honest, we never feel fully safe when we're putting ourselves out there as Satanists in person, because there are a lot of violent threats against us, which is unfortunate. But that's never going to stop me. Because this is too important to me.
And I'm glad to hear that. Like I said, I'm glad you can't. I probably wouldn't even bother you seeing the comments, but I have seen some of the wildest comments directed towards you on both YouTube really? And TikTok. Oh, people are very mean out here I'm glad I can't these streets. See it. Yeah, like I said, myself and Ari and Brett, we debate every single day pretty much. So we're very used to the hateful comments. But yeah, I had to have my mods on high alert today. Adriana, thank you so much for the $6.66 on Cash App. I will make sure it goes to a good cause. Hail Satan. By the way, your guys' hail statement. If you follow me and you have not checked out their merch shop on their website, that is some of the best freaking merch I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, I want to do I gotta figure out who your merch director is so I can do a Polypolitics /TST t-shirt, because I would love to do that. And of course I would make sure all the profits got to you guys, so I got to make sure I get a hold of somebody to do that, because your guys' merch is absolutely amazing. I think it's absolutely great. Ari, did you have something?
That's a really great way to support the work we do, because a lot of our funding comes from the merch sales and donations, so we really appreciate that. What I've found, although there's a lot of misunderstanding of Satanists and a lot of vitriol directed against us. I mean, really, we are, for the most part, very, very friendly and kind people. And I've always found the best strategy when it comes to dealing with animosity is to, let me make sure I say this right, unalive them with kindness. Because
that's great. That's great.
I've noticed that when we go in and I'm dealing with school administrators or people in the community who interact with us, when they actually meet us and see feel our energy in person and see what we're all about, sort of cognitive dissonance between the idea they had in their mind about evil devil worshippers and just these really nice normal people. That sort of that cognitive dissonance, it kind of like makes a crack. It sort of can crack them open a little bit in a way to maybe let some light in as to what we believe and what the actual evidence we have for why corporal punishment and other abusive punishments are wrong. So I'm happy to always disappoint people that we aren't scary. We're
well, I mean, I really do hate to say this. And by the way, I did drop their merch shop in my Discord chat, so that is there now if anybody wants to check stuff out. But I will tell you, as somebody who talks to people all day, you are much nicer than probably 98% of the Christians that I talk to when I'm debating on these chats. And that's no disrespect to Christians whatsoever, but just being honest, it usually gets pretty rough out here. So, sorry, go ahead, Ari. What were you going with? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
My girlfriend says I'm too nice sometimes, but
my girlfriend does not tell me that at all. So no, she's great.
Yeah. So a lot of people are asking if there's a way that they can follow you on any social media, like YouTube, maybe.
Oh, sure. Well, you mean me personally, or the Satanic Temple?
Yeah.
At large?
No. I think they just wanted you personally. Is that
okay.
The funny thing is their username that was asking is your mom in the comments. So your mom, did you want just the TST or LFS himself?
I don't mind sharing both, of course.
Well, we have one moderator that says you personally. Your mom says both.
Oh, sure. Well, I'll put. Can I just post the links in the Zoom chat and then you share them?
Yeah, so what we'll do, he'll give me the links, guys, and I will post it in my own Discord and in Polypolitics Discord. If Brett wants it in his, I will also post it in Brett Cross's Discord.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll post the only social media I use currently is Instagram, and that's just for my personal stuff where I'm mostly sharing my music, and I've been playing a lot of music at different protests recently, so there's a lot of that up there. I started doing some work in film. I have a short horror film that I directed that should be coming out sometime in the next year, and also my solo music under the name Revenant, which is the Instagram page, and also some music from my band Black Lung as well. So yeah, it's mostly a platform for my music and other artistic work, but so it's not necessarily related to TST. And as well, when it comes to, we recently launched a band camp for the Satanic Temple, an official Satanic Temple band camp, which was my idea. And at the moment, let me see if I can find the link to that. Because I have over the past 2 or 3 years, I have used my musical abilities to start creating a body of satanic music, satanic religious music for the temple. And I'm attempting to, there's a theme song that I wrote and recorded for my campaign, which is called Not Under Authority. And I've composed a few other songs for other campaigns. And I'm hoping we get some. We also want to take submissions for music to be part of the satanic musical canon. So if there's anybody out there who would like to, as a songwriter, and maybe already has a satanic song, I think that's probably unlikely, or if they're interested in writing one.
I heard there was a children's song. Am I right on that? Or
yeah, that was actually so if you go to that Bandcamp page, that song is up there as well, called My Pal Satan, which is the first one I wrote. And I donated that song to the After School Satan Club. If you want, I wonder if it would work for me to share the video right now. Do you think that would work if I shared my screen?
Sharing
pretty short.
Yeah, it might.
Yeah, it
You don't
won't
have
work to
but-
share the screen because you're already sharing the screen,
Ah,
Polly. So it'll
that's
stop
right.
that. So the only thing you'd be
Oh,
able to do
gotcha.
is play the audio. And I'm not sure
Gotcha.
how that
And
works over
and
Zoom.
honestly, where were you going to play the audio from? Were you going to play it from a site or?
Oh, there's a YouTube video of it. A friend of mine who used to work for the Satanic Temple made a very simple animated video for it,
All right,
which I
what's
think
it
is really
called on
fun.
YouTube?
So I can share that as well
What's it called on YouTube?
in
I'll
the
pull it
Zoom.
up. I'll have it on the screen in like 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, my pal Satan.
My pal Satan.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of that. I'm
Oh,
glad
that's
I've been
great.
able
I already
to.
see the cartoon up. I'm gonna hold
Oh
off
yeah.
on 1 second on that. I think we're gonna actually freaking play that in entirety, maybe to end this thing out. But I wanted to ask you one
Good
more
idea.
question before we do that. So I am the father of a very soon to be high schooler. Very next year, if she wanted to become a student of the Satanic Temple and be a part of it, because she will be watching this entire live later on. She gets very interested in this type of stuff. What would be the process for that? What would she need to do?
Well, it's pretty simple. I would recommend just going to our website. I mean, it sounds kind of lame to say, but yeah, just learning a bit about us from our website, because deciding to become a member of the Satanic Temple is just really a personal choice. It is a privilege. I mean, people can be kicked out of for certain kind of behaviors. Any type of violence or incitement to violence usually can get you kicked out pretty quickly. But it's a personal choice to become a member, because it's just saying that you believe deeply in the seven tenets and want to identify as a Satanist. So I would, let me give you that link. So yeah, if you go to the About Us page on our website, and you can read about the seven tenets, what they are, an overview of Satanic Temple, and how we're different from the Church of Satan, frequently asked questions. And that's a really great way to learn. And it's pretty easy reading. And sometimes people who become members, they also want to get a membership card, which is something that can be purchased from the merch store, but it's not mandatory. As well, I definitely recommend watching the documentary about us. A really great film, which is how I discovered the Satanic Temple, called "Hail Satan" with a question mark. And it's
I
a
believe
really
Phil
great
sent me that.
introduction.
So yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, but I definitely will. Maybe that'll be date night, huh? We'll do that.
Sure.
It's a fun and humorous watch, and I went and saw that at a local theater in my city, and I came out of the theater and I'm like, I guess I'm Satanist, because everything they described in the film pretty much aligns with what I believe, and it seems like being a part of, because before that I just considered myself an atheist, but when you're an atheist, it's a bit, it's kind of lonely, and you're not really, there's no community in it, and you're not really for anything. So I really like, being for something and using my beliefs to make positive change and work toward social justice. So that's initially why I wanted to get involved, and it's been a really positive thing in my life, I have to say. And as well as your daughter can also visit. I posted the link directly to the Protect Children Project webpage of the website, the TST website, and that's where. And also for anyone, if you want to share that on TikTok or in the any of the chats, that's where people can go to sign up to download the student rights card. And it's just as simple as putting in your email address, your school name, and state, just so we have an idea of where the cards are being used and downloaded. And and then you can also choose to subscribe to my newsletter, and and then you get a downloadable version of the card. Or if you don't have a printer, there's also, you can get in touch and email me directly, and the email is there on the site, and I'll mail you a physical card. So that's, if you want to connect with Protect Children Project specifically, that's a great way to do that. But yeah, I encourage anybody who's, interested, maybe they're Satan curious and they just want to learn more. Definitely, yeah, just go to our website and to the About TST page or watch Hail Satan. And it's a fun time.
That sounds absolutely awesome, man. That sounds
Being a
absolutely
Satanist
awesome.
can be pretty fun. And it should be.
Well, so, somebody in the chat just told me I was apparently sacrificing my daughter to Satan. So that's the kind of comments I'm seeing over here. But LFS, I really appreciate you coming on, and thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here. This has really been amazing. And Brett and Ari, thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna go ahead and lead us out by playing My Pal Satan on the screen for everybody else to see.
But real quick, both Brett and I are at 666 coins, so we got to say Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
You're going to say it too,
yeah.
Brett?
Hail Satan.
Hell
Hail
yeah.
Satan.
That's absolutely awesome. So, but thank you so much for being here, man. I would love to have another conversation another time. And this has been absolutely awesome. I think you guys are doing great work. I think this is absolutely awesome stuff that you guys are doing. Like truly, truly, truly. All of the links to everything that you guys have been asking for are in my Discord right now in the live commentary section. So we have everything from the Bandcamp to the card site to the merch site and his personal pages. Everything is there for you guys to be able to access. If you donated, I will be donating that money again to the new women's clinic there. And so if you still want to donate, you still can. I'll be doing that probably tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here, man. And I hope that you have a wonderful night. All right, brother?
Yeah, same to you. Thanks so much for having me. It was a blast. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Anytime, man. Anytime, man. Well, for you guys all listening pleasure, here's My Pal Satan to end out the evening. All right, y'all have a good one.
Not an evil guy. He wants you to learn and question why. He wants you to have fun and be yourself. And by the way, there is no hell. Science is important, so we understand the world. Satan looks for truth. Let's help him, boys and girls. Satan's not an evil guy. He wants you to learn and question why. He wants you to have fun and be yourself. And by the way, there is no hell. Everyone is different, and that's okay with Satan. He'll always treat you equal, whether you're black, white, or gay. Satan's not a scary guy. He wants you to share and to be kind. He wants you to have fun and be yourself. And by the way, there is no hell. When all is said and done, Satan doesn't actually exist. He's an imaginary friend who can teach us how to live. Satan's not a scary guy. He wants you to share and to be kind. He wants you to have fun and be yourself. And by the way, there is no match. Satan's not an evil guy. He wants you to learn and question why. He wants you to have fun and be yourself. And by the way, there is no match.
All right, y'all. Everybody have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you guys as always. Bye-bye.